I've heard a lot of mixed things about the Weboost, so I decided I'd buy one. I got this full price from Amazon, got it delivered to my local hub locker, and now I'm out in the Arizona desert. I'm going to try it out and let you know how it does. In the box you get the Weboost unit with the mount, a 12-volt power supply, an external antenna with about 15 feet of cable, a bracket with 2 extensions, and a spring. You also get the internal antenna with about 10 feet of cable. To install the bracket you need 2 11mm sockets or wrenches. The external antenna should be installed as far away from the internal antenna as possible, so ideally we'll go on the back of the vehicle. My placement isn't ideal, but it's the best I could manage. Once the bracket's installed, you feed the antenna cable through the extensions, screw it into the provided spring, and attach them to the mount using a 22mm socket. I ran the antenna cable to the back of my vehicle along the Prince roof rack and in through the back to where my power supply is. In the back, I attached the booster mount to my Marley panel using my trusty zip ties. So I was planning on doing this long video where I go off and I test it for the next couple of weeks, but I can tell you right now it works already. I tried doing a speed test before I turned it on and I couldn't even connect to the server, and actually I was trying to send my wife a couple of text messages or iMessages and they wouldn't even go through. Turned it on, iMessages sent, and then I did a speed test and got a download speed of 45 or just over 45 megabits per second. So I'm happy already, and I've only just turned it on. I am still going to test it out because, you know, my experience may change as I travel. But if you want to save yourself watching the rest of the video, I'll put a link to this exact model in the description. I think it's worth it so far. So about a month has passed now since I installed the Weboost in central Arizona. In that time I went up through northern Arizona, up into Utah, basically crossed Utah, came back to Kentucky, spent some time in Kentucky, and along the way I've been turning it on and off and basically seeing the difference between having it and not having it, and I can say with some confidence that it works. So why are we still getting the mixed reviews? Well, I think some of it's down to unrealistic expectations with the Weboost. Since buying this, I've had usable cell service far more often than I did without it, and I found since having it on, I'm dropping out of service far less often too. I think what a lot of people expect is when they install this Weboost, it's going to magic cell phone service out of nowhere, and it doesn't do that. It only boosts what already exists. That being said, since installing it, I have had a lot more usable service than I did without it, and actually there were times when my cell phone by itself would have no cell service, nothing, no bars at all, couldn't send or receive anything, and I flip that Weboost on and suddenly I'm getting text messages, I'm able to send text messages, sometimes I can even load web pages. Another thing is that it doesn't always give you a huge increase in connection speed. When I first flipped it on, it went from nothing to a 45 megabit connection, which was awesome, but that's the best I had on the entire trip. There were times when it would go from like 4.9 to 5.4, I think was an example. So I got like half a megabit connection speed increase. And if I just spent $500 on this and that's all I saw, then yeah, I'd be disappointed. But that was a rare case. The people who are disappointed are probably people who bought it for their location where they live, and that just happens to be one of those places where it's not going to give them a huge improvement. If you're traveling long distances, on average you are going to see significantly greater connection speeds. And I feel I spent $500, you know, I spent my own money on this, and I do feel it was worth it. I can now take my wife out, she works remotely, she can get a good stable connection speed, or if we're somewhere a little further out, she can get a faster connection speed than she would otherwise. Something you will need to consider for this is a power supply. So Weboost designed this to run off your vehicle's 12-volt power, so obviously they intended to only be running when your vehicle's running. But if you've got a dual battery setup or a Jackery, Goal Zero, anything like that, it will run off that too, and it pulls just 1 amp, so it's a very low power draw. Another thing is that you are going to have reduced clearance with that antenna up on the roof. They give you 2 extensions. There's like a short one, a tall one, and you can actually put the 2 together as well. I ended up going with just the tall one, but obviously you have some choice with the height. The higher it is, the better it's going to perform, but the more things you're also going to catch it on. It does okay against like trees, branches when you're moving slowly. I dragged it under a ton of them and the spring works really well. It just bends the whole thing back. But if you're driving a little bit faster and you hit it on a branch, you're probably going to end up shattering it, and it's $100 to replace the antenna. Finally, there is the placement of the antenna, and I think this might be where some people are going wrong. Some people are giving the negative reviews. You are supposed to have as much separation between the internal antenna and the external antenna as possible, and they say they have a minimum of 5 feet, otherwise you get a little bit of feedback and it can kind of make the thing less effective. And then the internal antenna you want to have as close to you as possible. According to Weboost, the radius of the range on that is 3 feet. I did notice it goes a little bit further than that, but really to be most effective, you're going to be within 3 feet. I ended up not mounting mine permanently inside the vehicle because I want to be able to move it around. Let's say we're sitting at camp and we want to work outside the vehicle. I want to be able to run that wire out to where I'm working. So should you buy one of these? If you're looking at getting something like this for emergency communication purposes, my answer is no. It doesn't always work, and there will be times when you don't have cell service. So you'd be better off spending that money on a satellite messenger like the Garmin InReach or the Spot X, because those will work everywhere and they're cheaper anyway. But if you're looking for something that you can take out to help you work remotely, attend meetings, upload documents, whatever you need to do, then yes, this is going to be for you, and it is going to be ideal. You still won't always have cell phone service, but you're a lot more likely to receive communications while you're on the road, opens up a lot more camping opportunities, and then when you pick your campsite, your connection speeds there are going to be much better. If you fall under that category and it sounds right for you, I've put a link to the Weboost in the description. Hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, make sure you give it a like. If you got questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.